encouragement is so important in that, because when you put yourself out there in your works and the things that you're doing, it's a vulnerability that is really difficult to manage, especially when you get dinged, I'll call it, and somebody calls you out, or somebody doesn't like it, or somebody, and that is a moment of, most people go, well, I'm afraid to get up in public speak because someone might say something negative. Well, there's a good chance it'll happen. Or writing. I mean, have you had something where you had some?
Oh, I do. I have a file full, but it was especially, I was especially vulnerable in the beginning when I first started, because as a writer, and I'm an introvert, but as a writer and an introvert, you tend to write, but you keep your things close to you, other than up on my wall, which was in the privacy of my bedroom, but to send it out. I remember the first time my pastor read a poem from the pulpit that I had written, and I think I was 12 years old or something, but goodness gracious, that meant so much to me. But I got the opportunity, I got the idea because I had, in our town in California, the train would come, and when it would come through town, it would cut off the town. And if you got stuck on one street trying to cross the train tracks, the train, could very easily cut you off for quite a while. Yeah. Well, this one day I was trying to beat the train, and every time I went to a different street, it backed up, and then he blocked me at the next street. And then I thought, this is a really funny idea to write as an article. And so I just went home and wrote it up, and then I thought, well, I'm going to send it to the newspaper and, see what they say. I didn't know if they'd print it or not, but it was so particular to that town that I thought I might have a shot. Yeah. And it was a funny article. It was all satire and whatnot. But so I did it. And the editor called me up and told me, that he loved it and he's going to print it. So I was so excited. It was going to be a guest editorial on, it's like page 2. Yeah. And so I was thrilled. So the night it came out, I'm, celebrating and having just such excitement. And then a few days later,
the other shoe drops.
The other shoe drops. And my husband was at work. And I remember because it was an evening paper. It came out in the evening. So I remember getting it, and I looked at, I was going through it, and I looked there on the editorial, the letters to the editors page, and man, oh man, I got blasted for having taken on the trains. And it was all, he missed the whole satire of the piece, and it was just a funny article. But it was blasting me, and even said the words, "I hope you never write again."
Oh my!
Yeah,
it went nuclear on you.
It went nuclear. So now I am laying in my bed, and I don't know how mad this person is, but I am scared to death. I do not know who I've offended, and my goodness. So I'm sitting there. When I get nervous, I shake. So I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm waiting for my husband to come home, and just, I'm like, okay, it is over. I'm not going to write. I'm not going to expose myself to this and whatnot. But I wanted to write. So it was a real struggle. I wanted to do it, but it was so scary out there. Yeah. I didn't know it was going to be that scary right off the bat. But so and this is before I was doing the church roast, and this was way in the beginning. And so I thought, well, I'll just talk to, I'll write, I'm just going to try it again, put my toes back in the water. And I talked to the editor, and he said, yeah, he'd love to see me write more if I can keep that same caliber of writing. And which is always the case, right? You got this really high compliment from the editor, and then this bad letter from the editor, letters to the editor. So I wrote another article, and I just kept kept going, but I told him, I said, I would like to change my name to a pen name because now I'm scared. So this is how brilliant of a undercover person I am. I told him to add a U to my name, and I became M-Bolton. How's that for a cover?
Yes, you're brilliant. You're brilliant.
So
They'll never know.
I know. So I did that for a while, and then on another occasion, I happened to be talking to the editor, and I told him that I probably wanted to go back to my real name. And he said, well, why did you want to change it anyway? And so then I told him, I said, well, it was that letter to the editor that way back in the beginning about the trains. I got that horrible letter, telling me that he hoped I never write again. And he says, oh, that was just a 12-year-old kid. Probably doing a school assignment. Don't worry about that. And here I almost would have gotten out of writing had I listened to my fear and not had that desire to keep on going and just go back out there again and try it one more time. And that doesn't mean that I've never had any other negative thing, but I've had so many more positive things. And I know that I know, especially at this stage in my life, I know that I'm doing what God wanted me to do.